Hello, my name is Alice, and frankly, I couldn't tell you what I'm doing. I've played Minecraft countless of times before, but not quite like this. There's nothing special about the gameplay at all, or about anything specific with the game. It's just me using this time to reflect and comprehend what's coming next, I guess. I'm at a point of my life where things are about to change drastically for me. Or at least I hope they do. Um, yeah, I'm gonna just kind of talk at the wall here and just see where I go with it. Today is July 9th of 2026, and about 2 weeks ago, I started the process of saving up money so that I can move. As I currently live with my parents, and that's not the greatest experience. Not to say that my parents are bad. I love my parents, but they're overall detrimental to my health, I think. I haven't found a place yet, but I know what town I want to move to. It's about 2.5 hours away from where I'm staying now. And it shouldn't cost me much more than I'm paying to stay here, so... Oh, is that how toggle sprint works? I don't like that. Like I said, I don't have any plans for this. I'm not entirely sure where I want to go with this game. And I'm probably gonna end up repeating myself a whole lot. But it's just how things go sometimes. I'm giving myself a deadline of a few months, about 9 or so, before I fully move out. And because it's so far away, I still gotta worry about, like, where am I gonna be getting housing? Where am I gonna work? Because I can't commute all the way back to where I'm working now, as it's a 2-hour drive and it would barely even pay for the gas. I'm debating whether or not to find a job now and just telling them I can't work until then, but something tells me that won't work the best. Then again, I could be completely wrong. I'm not entirely sure how all this works. Maybe one day I'll come back to these videos, because this will be many in a series, I do believe. I want to write a few scripted things as well, but I'm not sure if that's the best idea, given the tone I want to go for this. Oh, I'm not even sure if I introduced myself or not. Anyway, my name is Alice. I'm 21 years old. And I'm very quickly losing it, for better or worse. I guess I don't need this much white wool. I came to the realization recently that I don't really know who I am as a person, which I know is not a unique experience, and it's definitely something I've had the feeling for a long time. Given that I am queer in multiple ways. The topic of identity has always been a strange one for me. I kind of like where I'm sitting now, but it's taking me longer than I'd like to get started. And it's mainly me shooting myself in the foot, and not to blame my parents, but they're definitely not happy about it. So I try not to bother them too much, and I figure it'd be easier to leave than to bother them. I should really gather some leather. Yeah, I figured it'd be easier to leave than to bother them for too much longer. My mother's been threatening to kick me out for a while. I don't think she'll ever do it, but the possibility's there, of course. Then again, who knows? She might eventually do it. And frankly, I think it'd be a fantastic thing for me. Oh my god. I forgot they did that. I haven't played Minecraft seriously since like Trial Chambers, since before Trial Chambers came out. So, a lot of this stuff is new to me. I'm gonna end up repeating myself a lot. My memory is not the greatest, which I hope is a depression issue versus anything else. Because I know the longer I go on, the more I realized it must be depression, otherwise people around me are much stronger than I am. And again, knowing the people around me, I also know they're not stronger than I am, because a lot of them are insufferable at best. About a year ago, I got in a decent fight with my mother. Because I made the mistake of telling them that I feel that they are detrimental to my health. That my parents are anyway. And she blew up and made it a massive deal. Which I get to an extent, but she wouldn't even listen to a word I had to say. I don't think me and any of my families had an actual conversation in many years. The only one I've come close to having a decent conversation with is my sister. And even then, it's not like we don't get along, but it's not like we're the closest either. I have a good group of friends, which is nice. They're really great, and I love all of them dearly. Alright, this has got to be turned down. Just the biggest issue is that they've known me for so long that they knew who I was before I did. Or they have a preconceived notion of who I am. And I don't agree with it. So it leads to this weird phenomenon where I'm playing a weird, like, story of myself, almost. Because I have no other notion of who I am. Which it's weird because I have ideas of who I want to be, but I am afraid of taking the step of trying to become that person. So I'm stuck in this limbo stage, and I've been in this limbo stage for a good portion of my life, probably close to a third of my life. I was back to what I was saying earlier. I got in a big fight with my mother about a year ago, and I almost ran away. I wouldn't have been running away as I was an adult at the time, but I almost just up and left everything. And if I remember correctly, I think that's what the fight was about. That is a lot of enemies. I don't want to go over there. Was the fact that I was going to leave and not tell them. Because they'd make such a big deal out of it, and they did. Which In hindsight, it would have been a big deal. But yeah, I almost ran away to Minneapolis. And I had every intention of being homeless for a while. Which I don't think would have been too bad. I know, I'm sure many people would disagree with me, but I have a car and I had a little bit of savings at the time. So I think it would have turned out okay. Not that it ever ended up happening, but it's a nice thought to come back to on occasion. Then again, I do plan on actually leaving here in the, I say near future, but is it really the near future? What is the near future? I would consider it the near future. It's within a year, which I feel like is a good starting place. I have a few months to save up. I at least want to start up with $5 grand, which I don't think will be too hard. I have really bad spending habits though, so I'm trying to severely cut back on those, and to my credit, over the last 2 weeks I've not spent that much money. I've only spent maybe $100 including gas, which I'd count as a win. Being completely honest, I'm terrified to move. But I know it's something I need to do if I ever want to have a semblance of knowing who I am. I live in the countryside, which I know many people really enjoy, but I do not. I hate it here, and I have since I was little. And everyone I've talked to thinks I'm crazy for wanting to go anywhere else because they chose to live here and I just happened to be born here. If I could have chose to be born anywhere, would I choose anywhere else? Probably not. As much as I'm uncontent with where I am currently, I don't hate where I started or how I started. I wouldn't go back and change a thing. Well, any decisions I made. I went to, and the way I found out where I'd like to move is I recently got invited by a friend of a friend to go to a Pride event. A little bit further away than where I plan to move. But oh, dungeon. However, that was probably the one of my favorite experiences of all time, because it wasn't like a sense of knowing or like a sense of belonging or whatever, but I knew that I couldn't stay where I am anymore. So I decided that weekend, like a day or two after that, I can't do it anymore. I can't sit there and stir in my own self-hatred and apathy towards mostly everything. I'm doing this as some sort of twisted therapy. I tried therapy once and ended up with a terrible therapist who would just do nothing but repeat Chinese proverbs to me, and that's all they did the entire time. Oh. So I never went back. That was probably about 7 years ago. Back when I was very depressed. Because back when I was 15, I was borderline suicidal. It's a miracle I'm still here, honestly. And every time I say that, I always feel I feel a little bad because it wasn't that I ever received help, or I never really talked to anybody about it. I did try to talk to my parents about it once, but they made it about them and didn't listen to me yet again. So I quit talking to them about things that matter to me, because they made it clear that the things that matter to me don't matter to them. And if they ever heard me say that, they'd swear up and down that it wasn't true, but they've shown it time and time again. So I've lost most trust with my family. And that's just on a personal level. As we definitely don't see eye to eye politically, as I lean considerably left, and they do not. Neither does anybody around here, really, to be fair. And while I enjoy talking about politics, I don't think I'm going to do it too much here. Maybe important, like, life-altering stuff, but nothing beyond that, I don't think. I don't quite know what I want to talk about. I'm kind of just spitting into the wind, really. Um, okay. I enjoy making things. Unfortunately, I don't do it too often because I struggle really hard with motivation. Um, but one of my favorite projects of all time was how I came out as trans, actually. At least, or I guess more put the feelings of coming out into an outlet of some kind where I made an album. It wasn't good by any means, but it was really good for like nobody for someone who hadn't made music before. Um, and it was a final project for a college course, which was really interesting, and I enjoyed it a lot. I don't think I would like to go back and I like to go and remake a lot of the stuff, but and I always could, right? But I don't ever feel an actual want to. I always I always want to do stuff, but I never actually want to do stuff. I just kind of sit here and exist, and that's how it's been for a long time. A funny thing I came to a realization of recently is I've always had a specific year in mind where my life started to go downhill, and I started not enjoying anything. And that was 2016 when I was 11, which, funny enough, is also around the same time I hit puberty, which, in hindsight, makes a lot of sense. But at the time, it was just an arbitrary number I put out that ended up having a meaning in the future. Um, I'm glad I found out I was trans, despite I don't, and now I know many people um, will take that as a thing where I'll say, like the fact that I don't enjoy the process of being trans, but I'm glad I found out that I was. And I know that sounds mildly counterintuitive, but that's just how it is, and I don't want to go into the full details of explaining how being transgender works, but it's a big part of my life, and I like talking about it, so I'm sure it'll come up now and again. I'd like to move to the city. Maybe not somewhere like overwhelmingly city, but I know I said Minneapolis earlier, but that was, and I was genuinely going to, but I don't think I'd do that now. Ow. That's a new cave noise. That's so cool. Um, wow. That really threw me off, and honestly kind of scared me a bit. I don't know how long I'll keep doing this. Oh, I'm gonna die. I'm okay. I don't know if I'll continue this. I really should. I'm just gonna throw this up on YouTube for everyone to see. Then again, for no one to see. Because realistically, nobody I know is ever gonna watch this. And if they do, it's purely because the algorithm. It's like, hey, you watch this, you know this person, here's this video. And if that happens, that'll be quite unfortunate, but I don't ever think it will. There are more people in the world than there are seconds in your life. I'm on a mission to figure out what I am and what I want to be. And I might get there and I might not. I know I've decided that it's time for me to actually do something and actually make effort. And because if you don't make an effort into being happy, you never will be. Or at least that's the way I see it. I'm not interested in having like a load of money or anything remotely close to that. I don't really care about that. I'd like to be mildly well known in a local community and actually put some effort into helping people. Whether that be volunteer work, charity. The way things are, especially in America, scares me to no end. And I know depending on the type of person that hears that, they'll either care or they don't. Am I just going back to spawn? No. Maybe. Yeah, it scares me to no end, and I have no idea where things are gonna go from here. I have hopes of where I'd like it to go, but I unfortunately don't think it ever will. Then again, nobody knows for sure. It might happen, and it might not. And the only thing I can do is be here for it if it does. And if it does, great. And if it doesn't, I'm still here, so what am I gonna do about it? I'm used to playing modded Minecraft. We don't have keyboard tweaks here. Oh, I'd like this bucket. I'm very curious. Whether that be in nature or just in or just right now. I enjoy reading a lot of different types of books, but I never actually sit down and finish them. I listen to a lot of audiobooks, however, which has been nice to say the least. This will be really interesting to look back on years from now, where I'm just sitting here just really just losing it. I expect a year from now that I'm gonna be a very different person. And if I'm not, I'll be quite upset. How long have I been recording? I've been recording for 41 minutes. And I feel like I haven't said much of anything. Then again, I feel like I've gone over... Oh, hi. A lot of what I can. I would like... I have emeralds, I thought. There. Oh. I will be right back. Changed Minecraft music quite a bit. I gotta go move laundry around. The first time I played Minecraft, I believe 6 years old. It was a little bit before the release of 1.54, because 1.5.4 added a bunch of flowers, and I remember loading in for the first time and thinking it was modded. I'm like, wow. Obviously it wasn't modded, but it was cool to think of. Man, that's loud, isn't it? I don't know what I want to do here in the Nether. I guess just go gather blaze rods and whatnot. Maybe that's what I'll do. Oh yeah, spears. Man, the ambience in here is really, really loud, isn't it? But yeah, I used to play Minecraft Pocket Edition back when it was before Bedrock, and I was very young at the time, and I would just build these massive, I called them hotels, and they were just large brick buildings with glass going up and down the sides with a bunch of different colored wool for the floors. And I would do this over and over again until my mother eventually stopped letting me have her phone. And while there are a lot of things that -80, -90, 60, okay. And while there are a lot of things that I did enjoy very much back then, and I don't now, I don't think I'd ever wish to go back and be a kid again. I like where I am now. People say that you'll regret not, they're the best years of your life, and well, that has been the case for me, so. So I never really took the advice to heart. Which I think is for the better, as I definitely do not enjoy looking back on who I was. Like, there are some things, sure. Like, I used to be in different parts of the internet, and I really enjoyed the other parts. As for when I was born, people didn't really have access to the internet all too much, or at least like getting access to the internet as early as I did wasn't near as common. So the internet I grew up with was a vastly different internet that my personal friends and family grew up with. Which I don't mind. I gained internet access. It would have been just around 2012 when I got my first laptop. And I was about 7 years old at the time. And I really got into, while not an anime fan, I really got into Vocaloid and things like Black Rock Shooter and many more things that birthed from that era, like the very early Dan TDM. Or I was never a fan of PewDiePie, or I wasn't even that big of a fan of Markiplier until about a year or two before Unus Annus. So And while I remember those things, they don't feel like me. And I don't think they ever really had. I remember watching Log.zip play Mindvolution when 1.8 came out. And I remember thinking that, and I still do, that 1.7.10 is one of the best, if not the best, Minecraft version. And that purely comes from the fact that my laptop could not handle 1.8, as it was very bad. And that all the mods for 1.7 that are still around and still very popular. I know I loaded into a popular mod pack recently, and I was shocked to see that they had to backport the offhand because it was a 1.7.10 pack, and I'm like, wow. But growing up with that era of the internet, I ended up with a severe sense of anemoia, I think is the best term for it, which is the severe, it's like severe nostalgia for a time that either did not exist or you did not personally experience. And sometimes I feel like maybe if I was born a couple years earlier, that maybe I'd feel a little bit better, but then again, I know that that's just not the case. Yep, that's what I thought. I haven't dealt with piglin broods in a while. I'm kind of afraid to attack these guys, because if anyone with a crossbow comes around, I don't have... Maybe they won't. Yeah, but I think anemoia is the best way to describe it, as while I don't hold any distaste by any means for modern quote-unquote culture, it still doesn't feel the same. I feel like internet culture has severely changed in recent years, especially with things like short form content becoming big, which while I never had TikTok, YouTube and Instagram definitely show enough. And honestly, I think I would quit it all if I were able to, without having to keep up with the news. And I know the news is doing absolutely terrible things to my mental state. But unfortunately, I don't really have a choice. Because when your own government has tried to kill you on multiple occasions and is actively plotting to do so, you kind of can't ignore that. Because for those unaware, the laws regarding trans people in the US are really, really bad, to put it lightly. They must have changed something recently, because people definitely should be attacking me. Oh, that guy will! I'm dead here. Well, there's that attempt. I still have a bunch of stuff here. There's a reason I left my stuff here. But that might be all I do for today. I know that I'm quite low energy today, and I definitely don't know how to speak into a microphone, but with no due respect, I'm not speaking to you. I'm speaking to me. Oh, there's so much fire. Ow. I didn't know that pierces. That's kind of cool. Yeah, it's just not something I would have expected, actually. I wonder, do llamas attack all hostile mobs, like, regardless? Because if that's the case, I'm sure you can put up, like, a kind of a cool piercing thing, but not that it really matters. Is that an Acacia Village? No, it's just the fog. Okay. I'm gonna post this. I gotta go to work soon. I gotta leave early. Oh, it appears my medication has finally gone through at the pharmacy, which is really nice considering they have a bad track record for that. Maybe I'll walk around a bit more. But I should leave earlier now that I'm sure this would make a fascinating I think this would be fascinating to look back on in years' time and just to try to decode what I'm feeling now. Because I might know in the future, because I definitely don't know now. As I'm kind of just here and attempting to be more active in that being. Is that a exposed shipwreck? That's what it appears to be. This game is utterly beautiful. And while it is common, I think it is a very specific group of people that can realize that. Um, I know I've always absolutely adored computers. Um, hell, I had a laptop when I was 7. Um, so seeing it do stuff, as stupid as it sounds, it's really, really cool. And I love it so very much. As I've been following this game since a little after release, which is really funny considering I was like 4 at the time. I guess 5, because 2010, I think. It's a very interesting thing to watch, and I think it's me experiencing what time really is, and as dumb as that sounds, but like, there are things that I remember the beginning of. Minecraft being close to one of them. Um, and there are quite a few video games that fit this description as well. look at like the Titanfall series. As much as I never played them, I played a lot of the second one, but I never really played the first one. But I remember um, a lot of it, like just a lot of like the surrounding Discord. Another one is like I've been a fan of esports since I was little as well. I think I started watching um, CS:GO esports when I was like 9 or 10, and while I don't watch them consistently anymore, I'm still a massive fan of esports. So much so that it defined a period of my life where if I would have actually taken it seriously, I think I could have made some real money out of it. As there once was a time where I was very good at certain games, and hell, one of them I made like 300 bucks in a couple tournaments. Oh, Guardians. I I know it's not the case, but it feels like, and it might be the case, which is wild considering that's just how the system's built, is to get rid of. Is that a ruined portal, or am I just dumb? The I know gaming systems are very or the way gaming systems are functioned is very different now than it used to be. And while I do enjoy modern games, it's very different than what games felt like before. And I know that's not a product of the games changing more so as me changing. I I have this moment occasionally where I sit at my computer and I will sit there and just open a game just to close it immediately after. And I'll repeat this for an hour or two. And at the end, I'm like, wow, I sure did a lot of nothing, didn't I? But then I try to spend my time on something productive, and it's difficult. And then there's the people that will, um, I know it's specifically my mother, gives me a lot of shit when I do stuff, and then proceeds to give me shit if I don't do stuff, so I can't win. Because it's either I do it right, or I do it wrong, or it's a situation where it's like, oh, look who finally decided to do something. And I've been trying to do stuff for a very long time. And when it gets just completely brushed off like that, like, oh wow, look who finally decided to be not a waste of space for 2 seconds. It really, it's quite demoralizing. Because it's like, oh, I finally want to do something. And everyone's like, oh yeah? And then a lot of them think I can't do it. Which is fine. It definitely doesn't feel good by any means, but I can see where they're coming from. Because on the outside, I'm sure it does look like that. But those are just outward appearances. Let's go gambling. Wonder what that was. Saturation, maybe? No, because saturation I think shows up in the effects bar. Oh yeah, there were 3 villages I saw, wasn't there? Is it this? Did it change the name of it? The longer I'm alive, the more I realize that I am, in fact, alive. And sometimes that feels a little incorrect, I guess. Because I know, while I don't want to die, I don't necessarily want to live either. Ah, I figured. Okay, I tried. And I know that sounds quite dark, but I know quite a few people know what I'm talking about. I remember one of the moments that I realized that I had a severe depression problem. I was like 14 and I woke up and I looked at the clock. And the reason I looked up at the clock was I wanted to know how long it was before I can go back to sleep. And while I don't remember my mental state back then, just hearing and remembering that I felt that even when I was little, it hurts. Because poor kid, you know? I feel bad for that kid. And hopefully I could do something to make their life a little better in the future. But only time will tell. Well, I think that's it for me.